Hello and welcome to the Q&A for the end of May, beginning of June. As always, these Q&As, I get the questions from a community post that I do usually at the end of the month, so if you want your questions answered in next month's Q&A, take a look out for that Q&A post, and don't bother posting your questions in the comments section, as I probably won't read those. Anyways, I won't beat around the bush, so let's kick things off with our first question. And that question comes from Cactus Flowers, who asks, now that summer is coming, what can we expect from your channel for the future? Will you focus more on YBA because of the view drops you mentioned, or are we going to see more variety? I really like the Subnautica and Mario Kart videos, but I get the channel performance is important too. Really like your content, take care. Thank you, Cactus Flowers. And the answer to this one is a little bit complicated, and I don't truly know the 100% de facto answer for it, but what I can say is that for the next probably month, maybe two, I'm just gonna be mostly focusing on YBA and JoJo stuff, and it's not necessarily because I want or even feel the need to do that, but because I finally sat down and put together a game plan on how I'm gonna be doing things in the future. Basically, the way I see it is that so far in my whole YouTube career, I've kind of just been going with the flow and letting myself be completely at the mercy of whatever YouTube decides to do. And rather than actually trying to play the game and manipulate things into my favor and mess with things, I've just let them lie and accepted the consequences of when things happen to me. And while I've been doing that, it's worked out really well for some things, as I've literally made it my job to be doing YouTube here. But it's also come with a lot of drawbacks, because the algorithm obviously favors my YBA videos above everything else, and also my audience favors the YBA videos over everything else. But I think I've seen enough to know that when people are actually willing to give my other content a shot, they like it. And nothing is more clear with that than the super clickbaity video I did for April Fool's Day, where I played like 12 games and it was basically not even a JoJo video whatsoever, and it got a ton of views, a ton of watch time. The video did really well. So the takeaway is I'm playing the game, but what does that really mean? Well, if you've noticed from the last few uploads, you'll probably start seeing that a lot of my videos, despite the fact that they're very clearly JoJo inspired, don't have anything to do with YBA in their title. I don't put YBA in the title on purpose because I think that putting YBA in my title was simultaneously helping and hurting me. I'm also not putting YBA or JoJo or Roblox or any of that stuff in my tags for the videos either. The idea here is that putting JoJo, YBA, and all that stuff really narrows down the algorithm to see what I post that gets the most views and what I post that doesn't. And so it can get a lot of information that I'm giving it to get the best results, which ends up hurting me in the long run. So if I cut out the middleman here and I remove YBA from my titles, I remove it from the tags, I remove Roblox from the game, and then I upload things and they're capable of doing okay or well, then the hope is that when I upload stuff that's not that, and I also don't give the algorithm enough information, that it will actually send those out to my subscribers. Now, whether this will work or if it's a fool's errand, I really couldn't tell you, but at the very least, I think it's worth a shot, and I think I've done enough observations to think that it's probably gonna have some sort of impact. Whether it's a good one or a bad one, time will tell. The next question is from Slender Guy, who asks, where do you think you and YBA as a whole will be headed after or whenever this stone-free update finally drops, depending on its quality? Will I continue to make content on the game regularly with your friends, build or bust, etc.? Well, yes, I feel like I almost completely answered that in the previous section, but yeah, regardless of the quality of the update, I'm still gonna be doing Roblox JoJo stuff a lot for the next few weeks at the very least. As for builder busts and playing with my friends, well, I don't really play with other people too often when I play YBA, just because I don't play the game very often, so, you know, that's something. And my other long-standing series, I don't know, I don't like to do the same thing in too quick succession, so I try to space them out, and then I play less YBA, so then they get even more spaced out, and that's how a series takes 2 months to get another episode. It's just the way it works out. For me, it doesn't feel like 2 months, but it ends up being 2 months. Plus, I like to try to innovate and do different things rather than just continuing a series completely over and over and over again. While having series is really, really great because it's awesome for me to be able to fall back on something, I don't like to be stale and just continue to do the same things, and I like to try to mix things up not only for my own sanity, but also for the channel's variety. Our next question is from Vive Roblo, who asks, what, in your opinion, is the least fun stand to use in the game and why? I'm assuming this is talking about YBA. Also, I've recently heard about your videos slowly underperforming, but I hope everything will be alright. Keep in mind, I will support you until the very end. Thank you, Vive Roblo. Sorry if I pronounced your name wrong. Anyways, as for the least fun stand to play, yeesh. There's a lot of boring ones. I think a lot of them would tie. I would say things like Mr. President, White Album, The Hand, Crazy Diamond, definitely Gold Experience. All of those are just kind of lame, and you know, you can't do a whole lot with them. Mr. President's kind of funny, but the rest of them, they're just not much fun to play. I don't think I can really elaborate here. It's just, there's a fair few that just are boring. Next question's from Emil. They ask, if the update turns out to be actually worthwhile besides Stone Free and Uzu starts uploading more consistently, would you return to regularly making YBA content? Why did I put this in the list of questions? Anyways, Himross asks, how do you feel about the proposed changes to Spin that Paragon made a while back? Personally, I think it's good if all you care about is making Spin viable, but in a perfect world, I would rather have Spin be on par with the other specs while also being unique instead of just boxing with a projectile. I think that Paragon's changes are a good start, but yeah, I think that Spin probably needs a little bit more help. Personally, I suggested that they make it so that the standard spin ball doesn't get canceled when you get hit. That way it's a projectile almost on par with the world's knives. Being just boxing with a projectile would be really, really, really good if you could give basically any stand the world's knives. I think people seriously underrate that projectile, and Spinball comes out even faster than it does, but it has the drawback of having slightly less stun. But regardless, if you could play Spin without instantly dying and you had a solid projectile, I truly think that it would be on par with some of the other specs. Because double spin balls, aside from when it just doesn't work, is actually a really good stun, and it's probably one of the best stuns in the entire game. Because you can use it exactly like you would any of the other long wind-up stuns, after a block break or a parry, or you see your opponent really screw up and do a stupid laggy move. It's the same as all of those, it's just ranged, which leads to a whole bunch of problems. And they could fix those problems for sure, maybe by making it so if you hit one of them, the rest of them guarantee, but I don't know. What I can say is if they do nothing but the changes that were proposed, assuming they do anything, I don't think it's going to move up the viability of Spin, and I still don't think anybody's going to use it, because even if you're not taking damage, your projectiles are still really janky, assuming they don't fix that, and you're still going to get canceled whenever you're trying to throw a projectile. So it might be okay, but it's not going to be great. Our next question's from Garan. When do you think the channel will be stable enough for more diversity? Subnautica, Titan Warfare, etc. These games are really interesting, and it's a shame that you can't really play them on camera without sacrificing your entire career. You don't say! Well, I think the when do I think it would be stable enough for diversity? Quite honestly, I couldn't tell you. I really don't know. I wish I did. But I think that there's some stuff that's safer to go for and some that's less safe to go for. And obviously, I think it goes without saying that doing anything on Roblox is going to be a lot safer when it comes to channel stability than doing something off of Roblox. That being said, Subnautica did really well, but even though Subnautica, the first video, did really well, the second one didn't do as well as the first by about 50%, and that's a pretty brutal drop. So honestly, I don't know. I think it's probably the most soul-crushing because I usually put a whole lot of time and have the most fun working on the stuff that does the worst, i.e. my first-person shooter stuff, because the first-person shooter stuff, as I've said 100 times, is always what I'm most passionate about and always what fails the hardest. So if I can ever get to a point where I can do stuff on those kinds of games, that would be the #1 future, but I don't think I'm ever gonna get there. Next is from Zmao. Eclipse, as you and other longtime players of YBA and viewers of the channel might remember, a while ago, March/May of 2021, I believe, there was a new game called YBA Modded, which sparked some discontent and forced Uzu to quickly push out an update. So my question is, do you think we're gonna need another similar situation to get some actual worthwhile and genuinely fun updates, or just updates more frequently at all? No, and this is actually a perfect situation for me to finally talk about that stupid YBA modded crap, because I'm at a point where I think I can finally talk about it without fearing getting banned. I don't think I would have gotten banned if I talked about it to begin with, because I have nothing but negatives to say about it, but even still, I was asked behind the scenes to not talk about it as to not spread the popularity of the game, even if I was shitting on it, so I didn't. I think it's been since taken down, or at the very least completely fallen off the map, so I feel comfortable talking about it. YBA Modded was a really tough time for everyone involved with the situation, because there's no way around it. All YBA Modded was some jackass that went in and stole the entirety of YBA's game and re-uploaded it under a different name while changing like 3 things. Because of the YBA content drought and because you could play with mod specs, people thought it was the new hot shit. People fled there like no tomorrow, and a bunch of content creators got banned and got into a whole bunch of drama that I think was unjustified, but I don't want to go too far into that because, again, at this point, it's all in the past. But I think the biggest takeaway here is I do not think that YBA Modded was the reason that Uzu decided to push out an update. I just don't think that's realistic. YBA Modded, for all intents and purposes, was just worse YBA, but you could get banned for playing it. So I fail to see any reason why anyone would feel pressured, because it's pretty clear that if YBA Modded actually got anywhere, Roblox would eventually just take it down. Roblox is pretty awful at actually going after people for when they're stealing things, but I think if a blatant stolen copy of a game got far enough up the chain and started to become like a front page game, then we'd have some problems. There would be a lot of backlash and that game would get taken down. So I don't think that was going to push out an update, and I also don't think that a situation like it is something we should wish upon anyone, because stealing directly from somebody else and re-uploading it as if it's your own is really, really scummy. I'll post to you a little story that happened to me a long time ago before I really started to rise to the extremes that I'm at today. When I was at around 50,000 subscribers or so, I put out the Build or Bust intro on my Discord in a sneak peek before I'd done the first episode of Build or Bust. I just thought it would be cool for everyone to see it, so I uploaded it as an MP4 and just embedded it into my Discord and sent it out there. Unfortunately, some asshole decided that he was going to download my intro and then upload some really shitty video with the intro at the start of it. And at that point, I hadn't actually uploaded a video with the intro in it. And after I posted my Build or Bust, there was a bunch of people on the video saying, "Hey, you stole this from X," despite the fact that I'd made the intro and put it on my Discord. So obviously, I had to jump through a whole bunch of hoops with YouTube to prove to them that that's my intro and they need to take this guy's video down because he stole it from me, despite the fact that the intro on YouTube was uploaded on his channel before mine. That was one of the worst feelings in the world, and I will never forget it because I was running all over the place. I was really mad. It just put me in a super sour mood. And that was one small intro. I can't even imagine my mindset if someone stole an entire game that I had worked on and re-uploaded it. If you've never had something stolen from you and then presented as if it was someone else's, then you cannot understand the situation that YBA must have been in. This stuff is unforgivable and you should not support it under any stretch of the imagination. Our next question is from Tiny. They ask, do you think you'd ever consider doing a Let's Play through like a Mario game or any story game, since you've said you don't really like fighting/combo games? I've considered it, but as we already know, I'm kind of stuck right now. As for what kind of games I'd play, I'll be perfectly honest with you, I don't know how to make those kinds of videos. And I think that's very, very clear by my Eyes of Heaven Let's Play, where the videos got worse and worse and worse because I didn't know what to do with them, and so it would really just turn into me playing a game and talking, and a lot of the time I don't like to do that. Even if it's just something as simple as putting some subtle musical touches into my video so that it's not just me playing a game, I think those kinds of things make me feel like I've done something to change up the content rather than it just being a soulless Let's Play. And so something like my Subnautica videos I think are really great because I try to make them as good as possible, and I've got a clear vision after I've finished playing the game of how I'm going to put the episode together. The problem with other games is I just don't know how I would do that, especially ones that are more story-driven based and less open-ended. Subnautica is great because it's really open-ended, so I can do a lot with it. But I do want to play stuff like Metal Gear Rising, but that's obviously a much more story-oriented game, and I have no idea how I would edit that. So yeah, in short, I'd like to do that kind of stuff, but I don't know how I would do it while simultaneously making it fun to watch and not just a drab, boring, standard Let's Play. Next question is from Keurig. I hope I pronounced that right, and they're a long-standing fan of the channel, I know that for sure. They ask, what do you see happening after this YBA update in terms of YBA's future? And what do you think about Uzu hiring a few more devs to push out updates for him? Also love your videos, they are great. Thank you. As for YBA's future, I don't know. Paragon seems really confident that the future of the game looks bright, and I'm on the complete opposite of the spectrum saying that I think that the future of the game looks, well, black as an abyss. Then again, Paragon has a lot more inside connections than I do, so as I've said before in other videos, it's probably better to take his word for it, but for me, after a year of nothing, even if they put out one update, I'm not having my faith restored. They're gonna need to do a lot more than that to get my faith back in this game. As for Uzu hiring more developers to push out updates, I think that there is zero shot in hell this is ever going to happen, and if you've been paying any attention to any of the last, well, few months of all of the drama and all of the nonsense, I think it's pretty clear that Uzu's not in a place where he's going to want to hire out any more people. No matter what side of the fence you fall on any of that drama, whether you think Uzu's at fault or his employees are at fault, it's pretty clear that the Uzu workplace is not exactly a place that's drama-free by any stretch of the imagination, and if you're on the it's Uzu's fault, then Uzu is the worst boss of all time. And if you're on the it's the employee side of the fence, then Uzu's probably got some serious trust issues right now because they kept hiring people and then those people kept stabbing them in the back. So regardless if you're on Uzu or the employee's side, I think we can all agree that it's highly unlikely that there's going to be more people that are hired. Or at the very least, it's highly unlikely that people that are hired are going to be able to be trusted easily. Our next question comes from Pay to Forfeit, and they ask, can we expect live streams more frequently now because of the few drops in the YBA videos? Interested on seeing you live stream frequently and how different they would be from your normal videos. I am bringing live streams back. I think I'm comfortable saying that now, but there's not going to be any sort of schedule, and they're just going to happen when I feel like doing them, which I think was my biggest flaw with doing it before. It was really bad when I would take chunks out of my day and not be able to schedule them around my life, because I already do that a lot with my video editing and recording. So if I'm already taking the entire morning to afternoon of my day to record and edit a video, and then I'm taking the immediate afternoon afterwards to stream, then I don't find time to do anything in my life, which is kind of an issue because I like having a life. As for what'll be on the streams, well, no one's gonna watch them because it's probably just gonna be what I wanna play at the time, and 80% of the time it's gonna be a first-person shooter game. If you're expecting YBA streams, hoo boy, you're in for some shit because, yeah, I think I'm done with that forever. I can't see myself going back to streaming YBA. If you wanna watch my streams, I stream on Twitch as well as YouTube. The YouTube chat can get often flooded by a bunch of immature people spamming garbage, so if you want to watch them and you always want to actually get recommended my streams, go over and follow me on Twitch. And the last question we have from, yeah, I'm not even going to try to pronounce that, and they're asking, now that you're sort of back into streaming, do you think there's a chance weekly YBA tournaments could come back? Absolutely not. The YBA weekly tournaments were a dumpster fire to a massive proportion, because, oh my god, are they boring. I don't know how you guys watched that. I don't know how like 100,000 people watched the quote-unquote stream highlights I did of those tournaments, because they weren't highlights at all. I just took the matches and cut out the middle parts and just put crappy matches in the games where people ran in circles forever, and people ate that shit up, and I don't get it. Those were horrible videos, and by proxy, they were horrible streams. I do not understand why anybody watched those. But even if people do enjoy those, I can tell you that I, for one, do not. I kind of miss them because there would be some exciting moments, especially when we got towards grand finals. But getting into grand finals, 99% of the time, it was trash can versus other trash can, which is basically YBA in a nutshell. And those trash cans would not only not be able to parry or block anything, and so you'd see skull crushers and crap be landed over and over again, and I would just internally cringe every time. But also, since they would be so bad at actually landing attacks, we'd have like 20-minute matches where people are so afraid because they're in a tournament to do anything that they just run in circles around each other forever and nothing actually gets done. It was so bad at times that I would literally move matches from the stream off stream to run other games, finish those games, and go back to the match I moved, and it would still be going on and people would still be fighting because it just took that long for like Mr. President to fight against Star Platinum the World. It also didn't help that because YBA is the way it is, there was never any variety, and you would always see the same stuff over and over and over again, and any attempt to break that mold would get crushed unless it was someone who was clearly a specialist and only used that stand. The amount of the World Over Heavens and Star Platinum the Worlds I saw could make me die and go up to heaven right now. There was like a bajillion of them. It sucked. So the takeaway, no. YBA tournaments, I have no shot of bringing back right now. There would have to be some serious infrastructure actually dedicated to making it easier for me to do them and them not to be boring, and I'm not gonna put in the work to do that. So if YBA wants to put in the work to do that, then I'd gladly commentate a tournament that they officially ran, but I don't want to run one, that's for damn sure. Anyways, that's the last question on here, so I think we're about wrapping up. I admittedly didn't look into that many questions this time around because I've got a lot going on right now, so I just needed to put the video together as fast as I could. So my apologies if the questions were kind of repeaty or, you know, that kind of thing, and I didn't answer some of the really good heavy hitters. I'll try to do better next month, my bad. Anyways, that's what I got for today, so if you enjoyed the video, please leave a like, subscribe, turn on those notifications because, you know, I'm trying to beat that algorithm and I need your help. And with all that being said, have a wonderful day or night wherever you are, and I'll see you next time.